So, Shannon, on a scale of 1 to 10, if the Cowboys lose both of these players, how much would that hurt next year?
Skip, I'm going to say it'll be like a 6 or a 7. I'll go 7. Because if you think about it, Skip, we didn't see the maturation and the progression of Dak Prescott until he got what? Amari Cooper. Yep. And once he got Amari Cooper, he took off. He had Dez Bryant for several years, and Dez wasn't the same Dez. Dez was not getting the 50-50 ball. He could no longer run. His body was battered and bruised, and it started to take its toll. He gets Amari Cooper, and immediately you see the progression that Dak Prescott underwent. To the defensive side of the football, D-Law, this is the best D-Law I've seen. Granted, Skip, he missed some time with the injury, but this is the best D-Law I saw in the last 3 years. The thing that D-Law doesn't get credit for is because he doesn't have the sack totals of a Myles Garrett or T.J. Watt or the Bosa's. Yep. But he's tremendous at stopping the run. Pro Football Focus say he's the best defender at edge rusher at stopping the run. He's the 4th rated overall behind Myles Garrett, Mason Crosby, and Von Miller. He was ahead of T.J. Watt, the Bosa's, Cam Jordan, and Shaq Barrett. Yep. So in totality, Skip, when you combine now, will he go get you 12, 14 sacks? Probably not. I think he's probably more of a 7 to 10 sack guy, Skip, if he plays the entire season. But his run, the way he can set an edge, is second to none. So I get why the Cowboys are doing that. What's not surprising about me, let me go back to Amari, Skip. I should have stayed with Amari the first time. What's not surprising is that what Jerry has shown you over the course of his career, that he never loves free agents like he loves the guys that he drafts. That's true. He's shown you that, because here's the thing, Skip, and I'm reading, they say they have a question with Amari's durability. Michael Gallup has missed way more time. Skip, remember the guy had the calf injury. He comes back after the calf injury, Skip, plays 1 game and tears his ACL. So here's a guy that's coming off an ACL injury, and you're looking to do a long-term deal with him, as opposed to a guy, now granted, I get the $20 million salary, and he hasn't given you $20 million of production. But I don't believe either guy was going to be looking to take a pay cut, Skip, because they see the landscape. Somebody out there needs a number one receiver. Somebody out there needs a defensive end. I ain't taking no pay cut to stay here when I can go out there and I can get the dollars that I'm supposed to make originally here. Yep. Skip, I think it's going to hurt because we have not seen Dak get to a level and stay here throughout the course of the season. We see him do this, he does this. He play a bad team, does that, play a good team, does this. So we haven't seen the level, the greatness, get to a level and stay through the totality of it. D-Law is perfect for DQ, Dan Quinn's scheme, Skip. Yep. He's about a 6'4", 285-pound defensive end that can rush, speed, power, great against the run. So I think if they were to lose both of these guys, I think it's going to be it would be a tremendous loss. Also, Skip, I believe they're going to lose more, because I believe guys, what the thing is what guys are starting to see, Skip. At any given time, a pandemic can happen again. And what happened during the pandemic? The salary cap went down. Salary cap goes down, salary gets suppressed. Now the salary is starting to go up. I'm trying to get all the money I can get, Skip. I'm sorry, Jerry. I like it here in Dallas, but I can't give you any money back. I worked too hard to get it, especially D-Law missed some time last year with a bad back. He did. Now I need to get all my money. So I think it'll be a 7. I'm going to go a 7. Neither guy, Skip, is even though he rated ahead of a lot of these guys, I don't believe he's better than T.J. Watt. I don't believe Cooper is one of the, Amari Cooper is Cooper Kupp or Tyreek Hill or Devontae Adams. He's a solid receiver, Skip, but for whatever reason, he just have these, he'll give you a 120-yard game, Skip, and then he'll go 3 or 4 games where he gives you 40, and I can't explain it. And that's been his history. That's why the Raiders moved on from him, Skip. That is correct. I'm like, damn, Amari, how you give us 2 games of 120 and then you give us 5 games of 40? It's like, I don't question the guy's desire. I don't question his passion. But I'm like, damn, I just can't get, he's one guy, Skip, I can't get a read on.
Okay, back to the question. It's scale of 1 to 10 on the trouble scale. How much trouble are the Cowboys in if they lose both Amari and D-Law?
Yes.
My head says 9. My heart says 3.
Okay.
I'm clinging to glass half empty, full, right?
You split like, give it to go 5 or 6.
I'm going glass is still half full, even though my head is telling me the window has officially closed on this team.
Right.
Why did the window slam shut after last year? Because my quarterback, number
right
4, my quarterback took $75 million last year. My quarterback just pinned old Jerry right up against the wall, and then he took
shook him down. He shook him down, Skip.
He took him to the cleaners, and then he took him to the bank. And he fleeced him for $75 million. Last year, Tom Brady made $26 million. $75 million. I'm including the bonus on top.
Yeah.
It's such a cap hit that they are now $25 million over the cap.
Right.
And because my quarterback bled Jerry for every last penny that he could get from him, they are in this predicament right now.
Yeah.
Okay, Amari Cooper, I'm with you, and you know how I feel about him. He just disappears on the road too much.
Right.
I don't know why, but the Raiders and John Gruden got rid of him, even though they got a first back for him. So remember, Jerry traded for him because low motor.
Right.
Gruden likes high motor.
Yes.
Again, we can talk all you want about John Gruden and his issues, but I'm just saying, as a coach, he wants high motor.
Right.
He wants energy. He wants intensity, and Amari is none of the above.
Right.
He's also not your basic diva wide receiver, so he's always a model citizen.
Right.
But when it's time to play, when it's cold in Philadelphia and New York and whatever, in the big games late in the year, you cannot trust him. But I agree with you. He helped Dak make all that $75 million because when he first got there, he changed Dak's life.
He did.
Dak, remember the Monday night game against Tennessee when Dak, it was Amari's first game, so they hadn't even practiced together. And Dak tried to force one to him early in the game and just threw it to Byard in the back of the end zone. Byard ran out and tried to do a TO out on the star. And remember, it's like it was a debacle of a game, and they fell to 3-5 that night. Remember that? And I thought the season was over. And then because of Amari Cooper, it took off.
Yes.
And because Amari, remember the game at Philadelphia? It went overtime, and Amari caught 10 balls for 217 yards. I'm sorry, it's the game. It was in Dallas at Jerry World. So it was 10 catches for 217 yards, 3 touchdowns, including the game winner.
In overtime.
Remember that?
Yep.
Okay, that was the height of Amari Cooper. So he helps lead them into the playoffs. They actually won a home playoff game, and then I thought my quarterback played pretty well in the loss to the Rams out here at the Coliseum. But the point was, that was pretty much the end of Amari the way I knew and loved him, right? Because the next year down the stretch, after Dak had the 3 early games that made him a lot of money, and then he went to contractual war with Jerry, what happened down the stretch? They go 5-8, and how many times did Amari just disappear or go no mas? Remember at Jets, it's your all-time favorite Cowboy loss? Remember at New England? Remember Stephon Gilmore made him quit at New England. He's over there wearing his jacket.
I just think the thing is with Amari, because he's not a diva, most guys, like Amari will go, he'll get 2 targets, 3 targets, and he's like, okay, y'all want to pay me to get no targets? Most guys are going to be throwing the helmet. Even if I wouldn't throw my helmet, somebody need to get me to you-know-what ball.
Absolutely.
That's not him.
No.
He's not going to say anything.
Okay. So if you force me, Amari or Zeke, well, obviously, if you go ahead and cut Amari right now, he's scheduled to make $20 million, and it's going to be fully vested and guaranteed on March the 20th, right?
He was never going to get that, Skip. His production doesn't want that kind of money.
You can't, but he only counts $6 million if you cut him against the cap, because his deal was basically just a 2-year deal. Right?
Yes.
Zeke, you're stuck with him.
You're stuck.
You know, because he's going to make 12. It's going to count 12.4 against the cap. Well, you can't do it. Okay, so what did I see from Zeke? I'm doing glasses half full right now. I saw 5 games in which he averaged over 90 yards a game. He had 200-yard games early on. And then they said that he had a PCL, I don't know what it is. It was slightly, I don't know how it can be slightly ruptured, but that's what they said. So can I embrace that as maybe Zeke will be better next year at age 27?
No.
I can't, because he'll be in year 7 in the league.
What? Skip, you give me the stats all the time. His rookie year, his next year, his next year. It is gone.
And it went down this year to a career low.
With an extra game.
With an extra game. Career low. We're doing average per game.
Your average per game.
All right. So my point is, if you make me choose Zeke or Amari, I have to choose Zeke because it's not going to hurt. You know, the cap's going to be okay without Amari. But that brings us to the latest story, DeMarcus Lawrence. Well, again, can you pay $19 million for a run stuffer? Because that's basically what he is. He doesn't get to the quarterback as much as you would like.
Right.
The way Randy Gregory can terrorize, the way 11 from heaven, our guy Micah Parsons, the way he can terrorize a quarterback if given the opportunities to edge rush.
So is that what you're saying? Let D-Law go, and then you put Micah down?
I'm sure that's what they are thinking. Okay. We can use Micah a little more off that edge.
Right.
Opposite, again, Randy Gregory's unrestricted.
Yeah,
man.
Randy Gregory costs a lot of money.
Okay, but if you save a lot of money on Amari and DeMarcus Lawrence, maybe you could keep A, Randy Gregory, and B, Michael Gallup. And I agree with you. Gallup's been hurt more than he's been healthy.
Let that sink in. A guy coming off an ACL injury.
Yep.
Versus a guy, granted, now, if you would say, look, Amari, $20 million is just too much for the production that you're giving us. Now, I don't know if now, we heard that they offered a pay cut to D-Law.
Yes.
D-Law said, hell no.
Because obviously, if you let him go to the market,
yes,
he's going to get a ton.
And I'm not so sure Amari Cooper is not going to say we would turn down a pay cut, Skip, because he says, hold on, I'm a number one receiver. Jacksonville could use a number one receiver. There are some teams out there. Chicago could use a number one receiver for a young Justin Fields. So the money is going to be there. Skip, I would have thought Dallas would have learned their lesson. Remember last time they gave up on a guy named DeMarcus. He went to Denver.
And Jerry still to this day says it was his toughest decision he's ever made. And I think he would tell you now, I think I screwed that one up.
Yeah, it is one of his worst decisions.
All right.
But that was surprising because they drafted D-Ware. Jerry has this special, Skip, they're really his kids. That's how he looks at his draft picks. Anybody that Jerry has drafted, he has a fondness of special infatuation that he's willing to stay with them longer. Skip, he stayed with Daz longer than he should have. You and I was talking, said, Skip, we watching the games. I'm watching tape. Daz is not in anymore.
To use LeBron's favorite word, he looked washed.
Yes.
A year before.
But I drafted him, Skip.
Yep.
So I got to stick with him a little longer.
Yep.
Where T.O. went to the pro, was still a 1,000-yard receiver with damn near double-digit touchdown. Now we're going to move on. You see Amari, we'll move on because they didn't draft him. Gallup, we drafted Gallup. Zeke, we drafted Zeke, Skip. So there's that fondness.
They drafted Dalton Schultz.
Yes.
And you've come around as a Hall of Fame
like
tight
him.
end.
I like him. I think he's solid.
I'm not saying he's like a life changer, but he's pretty good.
No. Yeah, he's good.
I think they're going to have to franchise tag him.
Yeah.
At least that's one way to keep
because
him.
Blake Jarwin had something. I'm reading Blake Jarwin had something with his hip.
Like career threat.
Yes. Okay. Basically, I'm not counting on Blake Jarwin.
Okay. So now, as a lifelong diehard Cowboy fan, I have to cling to this. That Zeke had some kind of minor rupture of his PCL.
Right.
And that Dak had something wrong with his non-throwing shoulder that they will not specify. So they're trying to convince us via Mike McCarthy that even though it did not hamper his performance, said Mike McCarthy, that Dak Prescott needed a cleanup surgery on his non-throwing shoulder.
Right.
So now all I got left is I got to hope that did hamper his performance down the stretch, and it did. The PCL did hamper Zeke's performance.
But you see what they did, Skip? Now, you and I didn't find out that Dak had a second ankle surgery until Hard Knocks.
That's true.
Now, 2 weeks after the season, we found out that Dak, you see when they want to get things out, because what they're trying to set the stage for, that's why Dak's performance plummeted, is because of the shoulder surgery.
Yep.
So they're trying to get...
Mike McCarthy announced it.
Yes.
He volunteered it.
But nobody volunteered. Dak had a second ankle surgery until Dak revealed that in Hard Knocks. You're like, I didn't know Dak had a second ankle surgery. And you were as plugged into the Cowboys and around the Cowboys as anybody. Nobody knew. But all of a sudden, Mike McCarthy stepped to the podium and he blurted out information. But what he's trying to do, Skip, kind of like with Aaron Rodgers, all this, but nah, bro, you lost. And you tried to distract us from you losing. What they're trying to do is try to distract us from Dak Prescott playing terrible down the stretch. And they're trying to give him an out. Okay, fine. If that's the out you want him to have, so be it.
He played terrible down the stretch. I'm the first to announce that, to volunteer that.
Yeah.
Against your Broncos, he had a QBR of 19 on scale 0 to 100.
Had that Amari Cooper?
He was awful. At Kansas City, he had a QBR of 9 on a scale 0 to 100. He was awful. He had the ball 12 times and scored 3 field goals, right? At Raiders on Thanksgiving, he had a QBR of 43, and he stunk up the overtime.
He did,
Noah Brown on the throw of the game, right?
I thought whoever got the ball in overtime, Skip, that was the team.
Except us. Except us. We're the exception to that rule. And then against Arizona, all these games are winnable games to me that you win. Your seed goes up, up, up. Right?
Skip, because they were in prime position to be the number 1 seed. Because remember, the Rams have just lost. All you had to do, San Francisco beat the Rams. All you have to do is beat Arizona. You're in the money.
You're in the money. Instead, you get San Francisco, a hot team, at home, and your QBR is 27 because you stunk in that game.
Yeah.
You stunk down the stretch, the whole back half of the season.
Yeah. But they gave you
earned $7.50, and instead you got.
You try to get a man minimum wage.
Yeah, $7.50 an hour. That's what he should have gotten because that's what he deserved there.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.